All right, Dr. Brandy, thanks so much for being on the Friends with Wheels podcast. If I could just start off by asking how you got started in the disability community, and yeah, we can go from there.
Sure. So I'm an occupational therapist by training, and occupational therapists help make sure people can be as independent as possible, taking care of themselves, no matter what the challenge is. So by nature, we're part of that community. I guess the reason I became an OT, though, was because I wanted to be a part of the rehabilitation process and help people find as much independence as possible, no matter what was going on. I saw that with my dad, who has low vision, and then realized that, like, oh, he probably works with people like OTs. As a kid, they're just your dad, so you don't think nothing about it. But when I went to college, I recognized that, like, oh, there's a way to help facilitate people doing what they need and want to do.
hmm And so, how did Ask Sammy, come about? Was it like where did you come up with that?
Yeah, that's a little bit of a winding story. As an occupational therapist working in the hospital system and home health, I saw a lot of challenges with people actually getting the things that they needed in order to make their lives easier. And so I first started a private practice. It was called Accessible Living, and it's in Kansas City. And we would send an occupational therapist to the house, figure out what we could do to make that environment meet that person's needs better, and then help them get those things in place and make sure they can use them well. And that worked pretty good. And we started to get a lot of referrals for places that I couldn't reach because we were driving to go see that in person. And it didn't feel fair to just tell people, hey, I'm sorry you live in Harrisonville, but we can't serve you. And I also don't have anybody I can refer you to. So we said, well, how can we scale up the thing that we're doing? And it was like, well, definitely it's the internet. So we took our process that we were doing in person and turned it into what is now Ask Sammy. So now you can connect with an OT if you would like, but you also can ask Sammy, our AI that's trained on, like, how can I make it easier to get dressed even though I have tremors? And it'll give you equipment, resources, and services that match your needs that you can explore further and decide how you want to move forward with.
So, Ask Sammy, just to clarify, is it some sort of an AI tool?
Yeah, it is. So it's a marketplace in which there's an AI tool that helps you find what you need, but there's also occupational therapists listed that are from around the country. So if you want to have somebody come in person to see you, you can connect with somebody.
hmm How unique is that sort of platform? Because this is the first time I've ever heard about this. Like, what about that program like is so cool or so interesting?
I think because we're combining two things that haven't really been combined in like a big way before. So some what this is what happens when I was working in the hospital. I would meet a person, say, "Hey, there's this thing that I think will really help you. Here's a link. Good luck. Have a great day." And that didn't always translate to actually people getting what they needed. And so by putting it all in one place where we can both say, here's some things that can be useful, and you can order it from us, and you can have a clinician help you out with it or other challenges, is really useful because, those things do work together. They shouldn't be separate in separate silos.
hmm And how has that sort of platform helped people find what they needed? Was it easier? Was it challenging? From people that you've talked to, what was their experience?
I think the biggest thing that I hear most often is, wow, I wish I knew about this earlier. And the things that I found here, could have been more useful in the past. And now I'm glad that I have it, right? Because, like, we're not just reselling like the Drive medical things that you might see on Amazon. We have your basics, but we're also really working with other people who have found solutions for things because they had their own problems with it and they created a solution. And so it's so hard to, like, search something that you don't know exists, right? Like, you can't Google adaptive genes for people in wheelchairs if you don't think that that exists. But if you come to Ask Sammy and say, getting dressed is really hard and I'm mostly a wheelchair user, that will pop up, right? And so I think just being able to find solutions and also have those makers be able to connect with the people they're trying to connect with too.
Yeah, it says it in the tagline, answers for accessibility, finding those solutions.
That's right.
hmm And like, what have you learned in doing this kind of work?
Mm. I think the biggest thing that I learned, which is not rocket science, but I think often gets ignored in the medical community, is that people care about how things look and feel, right? And just because a tool or a solution makes your life easier and works, if it doesn't look good in your house or on your body, or it doesn't feel good to use it, you're probably not going to use it. And so, why can't we have things that look beautiful but are also functional too? Like, and I think there's a big movement happening right now in which a lot of people are getting that message, and more products and services are coming out that are intended to serve anybody, not just the able-bodied community, but really can focus on anybody. So I think that's the biggest thing I learned, is that like that's super important. And if you don't use a thing to make your life easier, it just doesn't make your life easier. So like we might as well make it nice to use, right?
hmm As someone said to me, if you don't use it, you lose it.
That's true all
And
the time.
yeah. And so how does Ask Sammy, how does it sort of different from other, tools? Because, you can look stuff up on like Amazon or for like
Hmm.
simple Google searches
Hmm.
or that kind of stuff, because that's how it is now. Like it's so
Hmm.
advanced.
Yeah, that's such a great question. I'll start with Google first. If you search on Google, um, for like, let's say you search a question and you search, how can I eat better even though my hand is shaky? It is going to bring you first the things that it thinks you want to have under advertisements. And Gemini might create you an AI answer that gives you a overview summary of some things. And then you'll have to click around to decide like, is this the kind of thing I want? Does it work for me? Does it meet my needs? There's just lots of questions. You might find the thing, but you should have lots of questions. Similarly, when you're on Amazon, you can search not as much with a question. You need to have some keywords, right? Like you got to know
Right.
what you're looking for. And then a lot of sellers are going to come up with something somewhat similar to what you want. And then you've got to dig into all the specifications to see like, is this big enough? Will this fit? Is it going to sit in my bathroom correctly? And like, you've got to do that work of figuring that out. We eliminate both of those challenges because we let you use your natural language to talk to the AI. And if we don't get enough information from you, we're going to ask you for that. And then we're going to point you in the right direction to the things that are going to work for you because we know all those details already, and we narrow it down significantly. So you know that like whatever we surface, we've used it ourselves. It's easy to use and it solves a real problem because that's our promise and that's the things that we provide on the site.
Mm-hmm. And is Ask Sammy, is it sort of local or like is it based in a particular location or you know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I know what you mean. Totally. So our business is physically located in Kansas City. However, because we focus on adaptive equipment and services that are available nationwide, we serve clients all over the country. So we ship everywhere. The benefit of using adaptive equipment to make things easier in your life is that it's not construction. And if you're a renter, it can work. If you have a temporary situation, it can work. If you just want to spend less money on doing some things that can make everyday life easier, it works. And then it also works for us scaling and reaching more people because we can just ship the things.
hmm And since Ask Sammy is local, is there some sort of opportunity or potentially for it to go national, like
So I think
beyond
that's what
Kansas City?
I think that's what I'm trying to say, is that because it's online, we do go national. We serve clients all over the country. So we can ship anywhere. We've had customers in almost all of 50 states, and we've got occupational therapists in most states so far.
hmm And what about on an international scale? Are you guys planning to do that or just stay locally in Kansas City?
I think the problem exists internationally. We do ship to Canada. So that's our first foray into outside of America. And hopefully in the future, we'll be able to serve in an even broader context.
hmm And are you guys sort of like talking about Ask Sammy, like giving conferences or giving keynotes?
I'm glad you brought that up. Just yesterday, I talked at a conference of older adults and people who work with older adults all about purpose and how much purpose is connected to our longevity and our health outcomes. And so, in that way and many other ways, I try hard to be the places where people are gathering. So, yeah, we do conferences a lot. And I even got to do a TED Talk one time. So, the goal is to share this widely so everybody gets the opportunity to access the resources.
And are there any events or things that are coming up that people should know about?
Hmm. That's a great question. I don't have any that come up at the top of my head at this moment, but there's two things that we do regularly. Number one, you can always go to our website and sign up for our free email newsletter. And we do put our upcoming events in that newsletter. And it just comes out once a week. We don't spam you, it comes out just once a week. And the second thing I would say about that is we also have a podcast. And so if people want to connect and they like podcasts because they're listening to your podcast, I do a podcast with another occupational therapist. Her name is Amelia. And we talk all about caregiving and like independence. So we bring experts in and people telling their stories about caring for somebody else or caring for themselves. And so it's a good resource.
Yeah, I'll make sure to give that a listen later on the next coming weeks. But yeah,
Awesome.
it's exciting. So, like for those who want to like do stuff like this, like Ask Sammy or like be in the disability community, what can they do?
As in, like, there's multiple ways. Number one, if you want to make your life easier, just go to asksammy.com and search and ask your questions. It's free to do that. So you get a lot of knowledge that way. Number two, if you want to work within the community, I'm a huge advocate for people becoming occupational therapists or an occupational therapy assistant. If it suits you to go back to school to do some of that work, I think it's a really rewarding career. And number three, anybody can participate by being an advocate because there's lots of ways to advocate for accessibility in whatever situation you find yourself in, whether it's government or the business that you work in or your neighborhood association. There's lots of ways to advocate for accessibility.
And for those who want to look up information about you or your work, what can they do?
They can go to asksamie.com. So that's ASK Sammy, SAMIE.com. And you can message us there. You can use the tools. And you can also connect with us under that name on all the social medias.
All right. Okay. All right.